All right, here we go. Today we have former Hell's Angel, actor, bodyguard, stuntman, and martial artist Chuck Zito. Welcome to VladTV.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
We've been trying to do this for about 2 years now.
Yes.
Yes, ever since we ran into each other at Michael Jai White's house.
Yes. Yes.
One of his fight parties. We finally made it happen.
We made it happen.
It was
2
good
years
timing.
later, but we're here.
It's good timing because your documentary is going to drop soon.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and I saw it. That's a real star-studded documentary. Donald Trump, Sylvester Stallone. Keep going. Who else is on there?
Who's in it? Ron Perlman, James Caan. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's just crazy. Frank Stallone, Tony Danza, Tony Sirico. It's just, some people have do documentaries and they have maybe 5 or 10 people in it. I probably have 30 people in mine.
Oh, yeah. Pamela Anderson.
Pamela Anderson, she's great.
The list goes on and on.
Yes.
Well, it's your first time here. I want to start in the very beginning.
Okay.
So you were born in the Bronx.
Born in the Bronx, yes.
And your grandparents came from Italy.
My grandparents came from Italy. My mom and dad were born here. My dad was born in Harlem. My mom in Jersey City, New Jersey.
You were a middle child.
Yes.
3 kids. Now, your dad was a professional boxer.
Yes.
He fought as Al
LaBarba.
Al LaBarba.
LaBarba, yes.
Yeah. So back then, boxers would actually change their names.
A lot of people changed their name. Sugar Ray Robinson was Walker Smith, they wouldn't use their real name. So at the time, my father's cousin, Fidel LaBarba, was a flyweight champion of the world. So instead of using his name, my father turned pro at 16, so he couldn't legally. So he changed his name to LaBarba. So that's how he got. And he had 228 fights.
228 fights.
228 fights in 12 years.
Right, because didn't your dad have fights, like multiple fights in the same night?
Same night.
That's crazy.
You couldn't fight in the same state, so he'd go to Connecticut. Back then, they'd jump on a train and he'd come to New York and fight. And he used to make $10 a fight.
$10
He always said he was born 40 years too early.
I know,
right?
These
guys are making $400 million a fight. I think Mayweather made $400 million a fight on that McGregor fight.
Now, in terms of your home life, was your dad relatively calm and collected, or would he be violent at home sometimes?
Not violent where he hit us. I mean, all he had to do was yell at us. We used to cry.
Okay.
It was crazy. But he was very strict. And but he always taught you about, respect. Respect your elders. Of course, the family. And at a young age, he taught, wow, you know what? Back in the day, I lived on Barretto Street in the Bronx. And so the Spofford home was right across the street. So my mother used to say, you get bad, well, you're bad, I'll put you across the street. So I remember there was a kid, even at 5 years old, there was a kid named Butch, like from the Little Rascals. I used to get beat up every day. He was a big, stronger kid, and every day he saw me, he used to beat me up. So one day I went crying home to my father, and he goes, don't ever come crying home to me. Then he pulled out a trunk, and he opened his trunk up, and there's all his boxing equipment that was in there, and he started teaching me how to box at 5 years old. He got on his knees, put the gloves on me. Of course, the gloves went up to like my elbows, and he started teaching me then.
Okay.
He goes, don't ever come crying home, learn how to fight.
Well, you had your first boxing match at 12 years old.
12 years old at the Southside Boys Club in New Rochelle.
Okay.
That was my first time in a ring in front of a crowd.
Did you know at that point this is what you wanted to do in the future, or you weren't sure?
I always wanted to emulate my dad and wanted to become a boxer. And I remember we had this Castro convertible when I was young, 5, 6 years old. I used to jump up and down because the mirror was higher. And I used to punch myself in the nose trying to get a flat nose like my dad, which now still today, if I touch it, it bleeds. It's crazy. So that's what I used to do. But then, of course, when I got older, I started young. I was left home at 17 years old. Had my girlfriend. We were living together. We got married, and I had to go to work. So I went to Golden Gloves 4 times. Wanted to fight, but my pro career went out the window.
Well, you dropped out of high school at 17.
Yes, 17.
You got married because your girlfriend was pregnant?
No.
She wasn't pregnant.
My girlfriend, actually, she was married a year before and had a daughter, and I raised her since she was
that's interesting. So
9
she was
months
a
old.
teenage mom
Yes,
who had a kid,
yes,
and then you guys,
yes.
where was the dad?
He was just, roaming the streets, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
He didn't see too much of her.
Okay, you never had any issues with him or anything?
Excuse me?
You never had any issues with the dad?
Well, back in the day, if you read my book, we were like best friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
I got you. Okay, so you get married, and
Yes.
even though it's not your child, you are raising this child, so
us.
you're a father at
Since she's-
17.
yeah, since she's 9 months old, a year old.
Okay, but you don't have a high school diploma.
No.
You got bills. So you started out as a refrigerator mechanic?
I went from job to job, of course. I used to paint and scrape boats back in New Rochelle, and at the Castaways Yacht Club there when I was 17. I was a gardener. I was a roofer at 14 years old, putting roofs down, and I went from job to job. And then finally, when my mom, who remarried a guy named John Felice, his brother Frank Felice worked for Finest Supermarkets, and I wound up going to school for refrigeration, and he gave me my first job. So I worked for Finest Supermarkets at all the supermarkets, servicing all their equipment, and that's how I started. Became a refrigeration mechanic.
Right. You were also a bouncer at one point. You were just doing anything to make money.
I did everything.
Okay.
I did everything. I had a bunch of jobs,
Yeah.
but refrigeration was my
Your
main,
go-to.
income at
Got
the
it.
end. Then I changed jobs and went to another refrigeration company.
Well, when you were younger, around 14, you saw a movie called Hell's Angels on Wheels
Hell's Angels on Wheels,
with
yes.
Jack Nicholson and Sonny Barger.
Sonny Barger, yes.
So Sonny is the founder of the Hell's Angels.
No, Sonny was a founder of the Oakland Hell's Angels.
Ah,
He started
okay.
the Oakland Hell's Angels April 1st, 1957. The original club was in San Bernardino, started 1948.
Ah, okay.
You know,
Because I
March
read
15,
Sonny's book. Yeah,
1948.
I read Sonny's book, but it was a while ago, so I don't exactly remember the details.
Yeah. So actually, Sonny had the third charter because after 1948, San Francisco started in 1954.
Aha.
So that was the second charter. Sonny started the Oakland Hells Angels in April 1st, 1957. A lot of people think he started it, but he didn't.
Got it. But he became the national president at one point?
Absolutely.
So he kind of became the face
they don't
of the
have
Hells Angels.
a national president. Everybody has a charter. Everybody has their own presidents and offices. But a lot of people looked up to him. He was, he's the one who seen ahead and seen how big it could get and made it spread not only through, the East Coast, it's all over the world all those years.
Absolutely. Okay, so at one point, you met a biker from a club called the Aliens.
But back in the day, what happened when I was boxing, Sandy Alexander was a Hells Angel from New York City. He used to be an alien nomad. They became Hells Angels December 5th, 1969. He was boxing at the Gramercy Gym. I was boxing also. I met him, and my first club, I belonged to the Chingling Nomads in the Bronx. Well, we started a little club called New Rochelle MC in New Rochelle. And then we met the Chinglings, and I became a Chingling. And then I went down to Gramercy Gym. I met Sandy Alexander. Told him I was a Chingling nomad. We became friends, and we started boxing each other. And when I left the Chinglings, I became a Hells Angel. And that's how I got started in the movie business, actually.
Okay, so you became a Hells Angel officially. Did you meet Sonny Barger around this time also?
Yes. Actually, when I became a Hells Angel in 1979, Sonny Barger came to New York City's 10th anniversary, and I met him there.
Okay.
So I've known, met him and known him since 1979.
Now, there are some rumors surrounding your membership in the Hells Angels.
Yeah.
according to some reports that we read, they're claiming, I'm not saying this is true, but they're claiming that you earned your membership by attempting to murder Robert Giangaro, a Queens pizzeria owner who had previously shot and injured a Hells Angel biker, Cortland Chip Candow, in a Manhattan bar.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've heard those rumors.
You've heard those rumors.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just going to read what the report is. I'm not expecting you to comment on it. I'm just going to read it. So according to testimony from John Joseph Pirate Miller, a Hells Angels member who turned government witness, Chuck and another Hells Angel, Philip Lightfoot Kramer, used a remote control device from a model airplane to detonate C4 explosives attached to a vehicle belonging to Giangaro, who survived without serious injury. Chuck was never charged with the bombing, although he was convicted of weapons possession when the police discovered a loaded pistol, ammunition, and brass knuckles in his car. Charges include criminal possession of a controlled substance, quaaludes, and disorderly conduct. So, out of everything I said, is there anything you can comment on?
All I can comment on is that John Pirate Miller was a rat. These guys get arrested. The first thing they do, they give a lot of people up and they start talking and spreading rumors. So, of course, it's not true.
Got it. But the conviction part about the weapons possession, is that true?
I got arrested with a loaded firearm. Yes.
Okay.
Back in the day.
Got it. Okay. So then you become an official Hells Angel around that time.
1979, yes.
1979. I interviewed Charles Pee Wee Goldsmith.
Yeah.
You know who he is? We talked about how there are no black members in the Hells Angels. The way he described it was a lot of Hells Angels are in prison. So when you get into the prison politics, when a riot breaks out, people take racial lines, right? The white guys
go the
white
case. You know, the blacks stick with the blacks, the Mexicans with the Mexicans, the Spanish with the Spanish, the Italians with the Italians. That's just
how it is
history,
in prison.
You know?
Right. So what he basically said is that if you were to have a black Hells Angels member, if a riot would break out, it would be unsure which side he would take.
Nah, that's
so that's bullshit?
Nothing but bullshit. That's bullshit. Everything comes out of his mouth is bullshit. You know?
Well, Sonny Barger did an interview in 2000 on the BBC. He said the club as a whole is not racist, but we probably have enough racist members that no black guy is going to get into it.
That's true. I mean, there's racists in every ethnic group. I mean, you know, me, I'm not. I mean, I treat all.
Well, I met you at a black guy's house, like you know. What I'm saying?
Michael John White's awesome,
right, exactly.
man. Michael John White.
Yeah, I'm not accusing
people the way I want to be treated.
I'm not accusing you of racism at all. I'm just talking about the group as a whole. Have you ever heard of black Hells Angels members?
I believe there was one in New Jersey at one time.
Okay.
You know, he's not there no more, but yeah, I don't want to know what happened, but
yeah,
you know. But you know what? I quit the club 20 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't want to keep going back on the Hells Angels. I was a Hells Angel member for 25 years. I quit the club, and really have nothing else to talk about that. I mean, you know.
Fair enough.
You know, a lot of people talk a lot of shit. All these guys get on, all these tough guys, you know, on computer, tough guys, I call them. And a lot of them talk shit, so.
Right. Well, we also
interviewed. We're allowed to curse on this, are we?
Yeah, go for it.
You don't know. Sometimes it comes out, man. I start cursing, man.
We also interviewed George Christie.
Huh?
George Christie from the Hells Angels.
About him. Yeah.
We also interviewed him as well.
You interviewed him too?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you don't mind, one more question about the Hells Angels. Is it true that, you know, because I've heard stories, for example, from Pee Wee said that the Hells Angels tattoo is very serious. And sometimes you see guys who get one just because they like the look or whatever. They're not really officially Hells Angels. And there's situations where they'll grab them and burn off the tattoo and stuff like that. Have you heard of stories like this?
There was times guys did get tattoos who weren't Hells Angels.
Yeah.
And if you got caught by a Hells Angel, it would come off, you know?
Yeah.
So that even, you know, like I said, you know, it's something that, you know, was part of my life for 25 years. I'm out of the club over 20 years now. Yeah. So I don't want to talk about Pee Wee and George Christie and every other guy who,
got it.
You know, uses the media to gain fame, you know?
Well, right around this time, around 79, that's when you met Donald Trump.
Yes, yes.
How'd you guys meet?
Well, in it was 1980, actually. 1980, I started my own bodyguard service. And
Charlie's Angels Bodyguard Service?
Yeah. I was a Hell's Angel. My name was Charlie Chuck.
Oh, okay. So Charlie's Angels. Okay,
Charlie's
I see.
Angels Bodyguard Service.
Got it.
And I had my logo was a flying kickboxer, with wings and boxing gloves. So I started doing that. Actually, how I got involved in that, we'll go back to 1979. We did a bike show. We used to do all the bike shows in the New York Coliseum and Westchester County Center. And at the time, they have these celebrities that show up every year. Like they had, Burt Ward and Adam West from, Batman, of course. One day they had Robert Conrad there. So there was a big crowd around Robert Conrad. He had a big bodyguard with him. He says, "Hey, could you help me get him in the back room?" So I said, "Of course." So, of course, I had my Hells Angel patch on. And almost, like the Red Sea, they parted. So we got in the back, and I started talking to him. I said, "Hey, is this, a lucrative business?" He goes, "Yeah, it's great. I make a lot of money." I said, "Well, how'd you get started?" He goes, "You know what? Make a card up, think of a catchy name, and start giving your cards out. And before you know it, somebody will call you." So, of course, I came up with Charlie's Angels Bodyguard Service. I had cards made up. I used to go, I remember, after the Leonard Durant fight, I was at the Academy of Music with John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd. We were watching the fight.
Yeah. Wow.
And they said, "Hey, we're going to go up to this bar up on the west side called Cafe Central." And I never drank, smoked, or took a drug in my life. So I said, "You know what? I don't really like to hang out at a place I don't know." They said, "Look, there's a lot of girls are there, ballerinas, a lot of actors come." So I went up there with them. And this place, Cafe Central, was up on Amsterdam Avenue. And at any time, doesn't matter what day of the week it was, there'd be 10 celebrities there. Bruce Willis was the bartender. Yeah. So I went up there, and it was funny because I went there. Of course, I had my Hells Angel patch on, and I was walking around. I said, "Wow, all these, De Niro was there, and Al Pacino, and Liza Minnelli, and Cher, and every actor you could think of, John Goodman, and Treat Williams, and Peter Riegert, all those guys back then." And I said, "Wow, look at this." So next thing you know, this guy comes up to me, goes, the maitre d'. He goes, "How you doing?" He goes, "My name's Paul Herman." He shook my hand. He goes, "I'm going to have to ask you to take the jacket off because you're scaring the customers." So I says, "Hey, pal," I said, "I don't take my patch off for anybody." He goes, "Well, I'm going to have to ask you to leave them because, you're scaring the customers." I says, "Look, I came up here with two of my friends. When they leave, I'll leave." He goes, "Look, my boss is asking me." I said, "You tell your boss to come see me." So with that, this little guy comes over, Peter Herrera, his name was. And he goes, "Well, what's the problem?" I said, "Well, your guy told me I have to take my patch off." He goes, "Well, you're scaring all my customers. So if you don't take it off, you have to leave." I says, "Well, I'm not leaving until my friends leave." I said, "Sit down." So we sat down in the booth, and we started talking. I said, "First of all, yes, I'm a Hell's Angel, but I don't drink, I don't smoke, I never took a drug in my life." We started talking. Half hour later, he goes, "You know what? You're welcome here anytime you want." And that became my new home. Every night I was
spot,
there.
Okay.
So then, after talking to Robert Conrad's bodyguard, so I came up with the name Charlie's Angels Bodyguard. I started handing cards out. So I started handing cards to all these actors. Liza Minnelli calls me the next day. She goes, "My sister's doing a play called Snoopy on Broadway. She's getting death threats. I'd like you to bodyguard her." I said, "Absolutely." She goes, "Well, how much?" I said, "Well, first, I'll do it gratis. If we get along with each other, fine." I started working for her. The next thing you know, Liza calls me to work for herself. And she was doing a play, called The Rink with Cheetah Rivera at the Martin Beck Theater on Broadway. So every night I would be with her. And let me jump back a little, because when I was at Cafe Central, that was my new home. So what happened one night, some guys started a problem with me. I was with Paul Herman, and a guy took my soda right off the table. He's drinking. I said, I didn't even know who this guy was, never saw him. I say, man, that's my soda. He goes, so what? I said, so what? I said, okay. I says, look, I don't want a problem, but, I'll give you a problem. He goes, well, there's 3 of us, So we went outside, 3 shots, knocked 3 guys out, right in the middle of the street. As they're falling, who comes around the corner? Peter Herrera in a cab. And he had Treat Williams and Peter Weller in the car with him. And he jumps out, see, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And Pete, these guys started with him. He just finished it. The next thing you know, that night, he offers me a job as a bouncer.
Oh.
At Cafe Central.
Okay.
But the only thing was I had to wear a suit. I couldn't wear my patch.
You can't wear the patch, right.
I wore a suit. And then I wore the suit. I started mingling with everybody there. Like I said, Bruce Willis was the bartender. He used to make me 8 creams. And that's how I got to know everybody. And I started working for Liza. Everybody who came to see Liza, everybody. I mean, every walk of life came to see her in the back, in the dressing room. So they had to go through me. So I met everybody there. Al Pacino and, who's Don Rickles and you name it, they were there. Elizabeth Taylor. So one night I go in, I went in and I says, Elizabeth Taylor said, I'd like to see Liza. Now everybody had to go through me to see Liza. I said, can you wait a minute? Let me see if she's, ready and everything. I went up there and I says, Liza, Elizabeth Taylor, I'd like to see you. She goes, you made Elizabeth Taylor wait outside? I says, yes. She goes, I love you. And that's how I started getting to know everybody. And I started working for everybody. And I became known as the bodyguard to the stars in the 80s. And I started working for everybody. And that's how it all started.
Right. You worked for a lot of people. Sylvester Stallone.
Liza Minnelli was my first. I worked for Elizabeth Taylor. I worked for Michael Jackson. I worked for...
okay, so hold on a sec. Michael Jackson.
Yes.
How much work did you do for him?
Excuse me?
How much work did you do for Michael Jackson?
Oh, no. Michael Jackson, it was just... it was a one night when he came to see Liza. My job was to get him around and go to him in a hotel and everything else. And in fact, one night I had another problem, and I had a suit on, and another 3 guys started in the other club, and I had my ripped pants, and he's looking at me, he goes, what happened to your pants? I said, oh, it's a long story. He started, giggling, and Liza, and I was with Liza also. And we were at his hotel room. But he was a great guy. He was just awesome human being, There's only one Michael Jackson. Yeah. Just like Elvis, there was only one Elvis.
Yeah, I mean, at his funeral, they said he was the greatest entertainer of all time. Yeah. And there's really not a big argument against that.
Except for Elvis.
I think it depends on the generation. I think your generation will say Elvis, my generation.
I'm a big Elvis nut.
Yeah.
TCB, take care of business in a flash.
There you go.
TCB, take care of business in a flash.
There you have it. Right. Like I said, Sylvester Stallone, who's still a good friend of yours. Mickey Rourke.
Charlie Sheen.
You became his boxing coach, right, Mickey?
No, we boxed around a little. We got in the ring once.
Got it. Sean Penn,
Charlie Sheen, everybody.
Angelina Jolie.
I
guess the Hells Angels had a 50th anniversary party, and that was your date?
Yes. After I was in the movie Gia with her.
Oh, you were in that movie?
Yes.
Oh, that was one of her early movies.
Yes. That's like one of her first ones, and that made her a superstar.
Yeah, exactly.
She was playing the model Gia Karanji.
Exactly.
And after that, a few weeks later, we went to the Hells Angels having a 50th anniversary party in San Bernardino. So I took her with me to California. And then after San Bernardino, we rode to Ventura, California, and ended the party there. So we rode in the rain all the way there, like an hour and a half. And she just
that's a ways. These are not close places that you're talking about.
No. It was a good hour and a half away. Yeah, maybe 2 hours away to Ventura.
Exactly.
And she was on the back holding on in the rain, and we had probably had a couple of hundred Hells Angels riding the pack.
Yeah, she was safe.
And she was a trooper, man. She was great. She was awesome, Angelina.
Pamela Anderson.
Pamela Anderson, yes.
Didn't you ask to marry her at one point?
Yeah, she said if my name was Pamela Zito, he said I'd never have a problem. I said,
Right.
yeah. But she, I think I went through 5 husbands with her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cher.
Cher.
Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier.
Any interesting stories with Ali?
Excuse me?
Any interesting stories with Muhammad Ali?
No, he was just, I always said Muhammad Ali was the first rapper.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he rhymed.
He was awesome.
You know?
And
flow like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Like, yeah.
He was just great. I mean, he was the most recognizable face on the planet at one time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he was just he's a humble guy, awesome guy. And so was Joe Frazier, you know. Toro Gadia used to work for. Bernard Hopkins I worked for. A bunch of guys.
Yeah, I heard you in an interview where you said that point blank, Muhammad Ali is the greatest of all time.
Greatest of all time, without a doubt. Hands down.
So even if you would take Tyson in his prime
Yes.
against Ali, you would still pick Ali?
Yes. Yes, because you know what? Ali had it all. He could punch, he could take a punch.
Yeah.
And I always said Muhammad Ali was the greatest. Joe Louis was the second greatest.
Mm.
Joe Louis was a great fighter, and I look up to those guys, and especially when I was bodyguarding Muhammad Ali, it was just he was my idol, because back in the day, I went to his training camp, and actually had my daughter with me. She was like, 5 years old, and we went to go see him at Deer Lake, Pennsylvania, at his training camp.
Yeah, I really wish that he had stopped earlier, because I felt like his last few fights, he shouldn't have had it.
He should have never fought Holmes. Holmes was still a young guy. He was his sparring partner back in the day. And Ali was just old and old at the time. He should never fought that. But if you remember when Mike fought Larry Holmes, Ali whispered in his ear, "Get him for me."
Right. Well, and I actually interviewed Mike Tyson. We talked about this.
Oh, okay.
Remember Ali's last fight was Trevor Berbick.
Yeah.
And Trevor really abused him. And I remember when I interviewed Larry Holmes, he said, we talked about how Trevor Berbick died. I think his nephew beat him to death with a metal bar in Jamaica or something.
Crazy, man.
And, Holmes was like, good. He deserved it. God don't like ugly. He was a piece of shit. And I remember when I interviewed Tyson and he fought Trevor Berbick, he said that was the angriest fight he's ever had, because he hated him so much over what he did to Ali, because Ali was his idol.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So.
Yes.
And you actually did bodyguard work for Tyson as well, right?
Yes. Yes.
Any interesting stories with Mike?
We were at that hotel when he had the brawl with Lennox Lewis.
Oh.
If you remember that one.
I do remember
Where they came
that.
face to face, and then the bodyguard came up to Mike, and Mike went to hit him, and, Lennox hit him, and it was a big brawl. But I was in the back when this happened. So I came running out. The time I got there, it was a big pile. So I'm going through, and actually I had my long duster and my Hell's Angel patch on me, and all you see was me pulling people out looking for Mike.
I mean, what do you think was the most serious situation out of all the bodyguard work that you've ever done? Did anything ever happen where your life or your client's life was in danger on any level?
You know what? Bodyguarding people, it's mostly, crowd control, because people are always trying to get near them and try and take something, as a souvenir. It wasn't where somebody was trying to, kill somebody. It wasn't like, the time with, John Lennon.
Yeah.
My thing was always crowd control with people, because everybody wanted to get near them, like I said. Everybody wanted to get a picture with them. And I used to tell people before we got out of the car, look, just make a path, take all the pictures you want. Just let us get through.
Yeah.
And most of the time, 90%, 99%, it was okay. One time I was coming out with Sean Penn, and he just did a premiere. And we were coming out, and it was paparazzi all over the place. And I said, look, just make a path, and we'll come out, and we could just let us walk into the restaurant. Well, they decided not to. So there was a police barricade there. I told Sean, wait in the car. I got the barricade, and I just pushed everybody with the barricade. They started falling. I said, now we'll do it the hard way. Then they finally got out of the way. We walked in a restaurant, but there was nobody trying to hurt, my clients. They were just trying to get close, maybe grab something, get a souvenir or something.
Right.
But there was no, their life was never in danger. And I remember one time coming out of the Martin Beck Theater with Liza, and we go back the back door, and there'd be 50 to 100 people waiting for her to sign autographs, to take pictures. And one night we came out, and it was the fire exit. There was a guy standing on top of the stairs, maybe 10 steps up. And as soon as we came out, I opened the door, and he went like this. And I pushed Liza away. I grabbed him by the throat, and I grabbed his hand. I thought he was going for a gun. And he pulled out a camera. I said, oh, boy. I said, I'm screwing down. This guy's going to sue me and everything else. I said, why are you standing here out of everybody? Everybody's down here. So what we did was called the situation and gave him front row tickets for the next night.
Nice. Well, wasn't there a situation where a journalist for Newsweek had written a story about Sean Penn?
Oh, yes. A.J. Benza. He used to have that show, Ain't Life a Bitch or something. It was, I forgot the name of the show, but he had a show at night about celebrities and everything else. Anyway, one time, my friend Johnny C. calls me up and he goes, did you read the Newsweek? I said, no. He goes, read the Newsweek, get the Newsweek. So I got the Newsweek, and it said how a Hell's Angel came up to him to talk about Sean Penn. And it says, I like Sean Penn, so I'm not going to write about him. So now you see this, and I got pissed off.
Did they actually name you in the article?
No, he just said Hell's Angel.
Okay.
At Scores.
Which you were actually the
but
bodyguard.
I'm the only Hell's Angel went to Scores. So it took a brain surgeon to know who he was talking about.
Right.
So I get pissed off. And I know he used to hang out at Rayo's. I went up to Rayo's. I got on my motorcycle, went up to Rayo's. I went in there, looked around. You see AJ? No. Next stop, I pull up at Scores. I pull right up on the sidewalk. Right in the lobby, you see AJ Benza there. I pull up, boom, get off my bike. He runs inside. Now, the manager at the time was John Saliano, who's now Goomba Johnny. He's actually a good comedian. Mm-hmm. And I says, where's AJ? He goes, he ran that way. He goes, do me a favor. Take him in the office, because I had a few fights and Scores already. And I grab AJ. I said, I want to talk to you in the office. I pull out the magazine. I said, what is this? He goes, the Newsweek magazine. New York magazine or Newsweek, something like that. I think it was New York magazine. And I said, I don't know what it is. I said, what is this article right here? Well, you said the Hell's Angel was giving you dirt on Sean Penn. I said, since when did I ever talk to you about Sean Penn, one of my clients, and a dear friend of mine? He goes, well, you didn't talk to me, but I thought you overheard. I thought I overheard you once. I said, you overheard me talk about my client and dear friend? He goes, yeah, I think so. Boom, I hit him with a shot, unconscious. He fell down, boom. My friend Johnny opened the door, looked at him, he said, wow, he closed the door again. And so I waited to him. He was out a couple of minutes. He got to, and I says, now he was bleeding. I said, now what you're going to do, you're going to retract this story. You hear me? He goes, yeah, I'll do anything. I said, you retract this story. I will. I said, I have your word as a man. He goes, yes. I said, good. Go wash your face. I'll buy you dinner. And I bought him dinner.
You guys became friends after that?
We were friends before that.
Before that?
And after that incident, I bought him dinner, and we're still friends to today.
Still friends today. Crazy. Okay, so you're doing your bodyguard work.
Yes.
But then you start getting into the stuntman business.
Yes. That's how we'll get into now Sandy Alexander. I'm doing my bodyguard work. And, actually, I got into the stunt business before I started my bodyguard work, because that was 1979. We did a movie. And, no, I'm sorry. I had my bodyguard business first. In 1981, we did a movie. Sandy was a stunt coordinator. Alex Stevens was a stunt coordinator on this movie called Dead Ringer with Sharon Meatloaf. Sandy was co-coordinator. They needed 18 guys on motorcycles, so Sandy, of course, hired all the Hells Angels. So we were on this movie set. We all had tuxedos on with Meatloaf on our back. He had his own, gang.
Right.
And we were riding motorcycles with tuxedos on. So I caught the stunt bug, and I became a stuntman. So whenever Sandy Alexander was with Alex Stevens, they gave me work, and that's how it all started. So I always thank Sandy Alexander and the Hells Angels for getting me involved in the movie business.
Well, your first stuntman job was The Year of the Dragon, where you played Mickey Rourke's stunt double?
No, I was a stuntman already. My first stuntman job was, of course, Dead Ringer.
Okay, so later on, though.
Later on,
oh,
yeah.
But,
I met Mickey Rourke. I actually met Mickey, and Jimmy Hayden was an actor, and he was doing American Buffalo with Al Pacino. And he wound up dying from an overdose. And everybody went to his funeral, and I went, and I rode my motorcycle to his funeral and everything. And that's where I met Mickey. We became friends after that. We were both pallbearers for it. And that's how I met Mickey. So once Mickey, we became friends, he was doing movies. I started, actually, I stunt doubled Mickey in a few movies. And we did a bunch of movies together. And one of them was, of course, Year of the Dragon, which was filmed up in Canada.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching that movie. It was a good movie.
It was filmed up in Canada.
Was that Michael Mann? Was that one of his early films?
Oh, no, that was...
No. I'm thinking about something else. It's directed by Michael Cimino?
Michael Cimino.
Cimino,
yes.
Right.
Michael Cimino. Actually, Michael Cimino did a movie called Heaven's Gate that flopped. He put millions and millions of dollars. It flopped. But he did Year of the Dragon.
Yeah, I remember. This was about the Chinese mafia.
Yes.
Yes. This is the first time you really see the Chinese mafia in a film. And,
yes.
Yeah.
We also filmed at Dino De Laurentiis Studios in North Carolina. And I remember we were there doing a movie, and Bruce Springsteen had a concert, about 100 miles away. And I took Mickey. I introduced Mickey Rourke to Bruce Springsteen.
Nice.
Yeah. They became friends. And of course, when the wrestler, Bruce did a song for the wrestler, and he won an Emmy or Oscar or something for it.
Yeah, Wrestler's a hell of a movie, but
yeah,
I just interviewed Maven, the wrestler.
So
who said that it's a very accurate film in terms of what wrestlers actually go through.
About the wrestlers. So I'm sitting there watching, and I don't know if it was an Emmy or an Oscar or something. Bruce won, and he gets up. He goes, "I just want to thank Mickey Rourke, because if it wasn't for him, that meeting him, I wouldn't have this today." And I'm yelling at him, "Hey, why don't you thank Chuck Zito? I'm the one who introduced you both years." And I'm sitting there yelling at the TV.
Well, you end up doing 100 movies as a stuntman?
Oh, I've done 150 movies together.
150 movies.
I've done 150. Like 70 or 80 as a stuntman. You never saw me in a movie. I was doubling people. You only saw my name at the end of the credits, when the stunts come up. Chuck Zito.
I remember I interviewed A.J. Johnson, the comedian. He was in Friday. He played the crackhead in Friday. But his dad actually started the Black Stuntman Association.
Okay.
Because up until that point, they would basically use white stuntmen and then just, give them black face paint, to do stunts.
I don't know about that.
Well,
there was a lot of black stuntmen that I worked for, and Tia Turner was a big stunt coordinator.
No, but I'm talking about his dad, so this was like a long time ago.
Yeah.
This was probably in the 50s, 60s, that time.
Who knows, maybe.
Yeah. But he basically said how it was just very dangerous work. Like his dad was always messed up and, a lot of surgeries and everything else like that. How badly did you hurt yourself as a stuntman? I tell
you the truth, I never got hurt as a stuntman.
Really?
One time I did a stair fall down a marble stairs. And we were working, myself and Chaz Palminteri, it was a stunt doubling him. And I did a movie there, and I had to do the stair fall. So I did a stair fall, I'm going down. And, you got pads on your elbows and your knees, stuff like that. So you have to wear a little baggy stuff. So I did the stair fall. The director goes, that was great. This is great. Thank you. He goes, can you do it one more time? I said, you just told me it was great. Why do it one more time? So I did it the second time. The last step, I banged my head against the
marble.
Got some stitches on the, yeah. So that was really my only time I got hurt. But I love it when they said, that's great. Can you do it one more time?
Yeah, man, listen, more power to you. That was always a job I always thought was so unbelievably dangerous. I mean, it's almost like, because I've interviewed a lot of wrestlers, wrestlers compare what they do in the ring to being a stuntman, essentially.
Absolutely.
It's very similar.
People think it's fake.
No.
Now, I got involved with a lot of, in wrestling back in the day when it was NWO and, WCW, doing a lot of things. I was supposed to wrestle one time, but then I had a motorcycle accident. But I was involved in a few.
Well, I could have totally seen you as a wrestler.
Scenes.
That would have been perfect.
But people said it was fake. You know how many guys used to come in the back room with broken fingers or a broken arm?
Oh, yeah.
They're jumping, from the top of that ring all to the bottom.
Now, listen,
benches.
I've interviewed Ken Shamrock a couple of times.
Oh, Ken's a dear friend.
Yeah. And now this was a full-blown UFC fighter.
Yes.
And a full-blown WWE wrestler. And he told me point blank that he injured himself way more as a wrestler than in the octagon. Whereas, the octagon people are actually trying to physically hurt you.
Right.
In the wrestling ring, it is somewhat acting. They're not trying to hurt you, but you would get hurt a lot more as a wrestler than in an actual martial art. Yes. So yeah, man.
And talking about, Shamrock, Ken was a dear friend. Frank was a dear friend of mine.
Oh, his dad?
I actually met Frank on Oz when I used to do Oz.
Okay.
I worked on Oz. I, played Chucky Pancamo, head of the Italians.
Yeah, we'll get into all that.
And I met Frank there, and we became, of course, great friends. And I used to walk him into the octagon a few of his fights.
Nice. Yeah, Ken is a legend, man.
Yeah.
Ken is absolutely.
Ken is a legend. Frank's a legend. I mean, these guys.
Well, by 1984, the FBI started to investigate you.
Yes.
You became the president, you became the vice president of the New York chapter.
Yes.
Is it the Hells Angels or the Nomads? I'm looking confused.
Hells Angels.
Okay.
Now, Nomads is the same. It just says Hells Angels, and everywhere, everybody wears a state rocker, but it says, when I became a Nomad, they put Nomads on the front. And when we changed, when we started Nomads in New York, I became the president there.
Got it. Now, in 85,
yes,
21 Hells Angels went to Japan to... 20, sorry. So 20 Hells Angels went to Japan to figure out whether there was going to be a Hells Angels in Japan.
Yes.
You were part of that group.
This Japanese motorcycle club contacted, of course, the Hells Angels. 20 of us went out there. And we had the power back in the day to vote them in, but they didn't have what it took. And while I'm out there, they had a nationwide sweep against the Hells Angels. 150 people got arrested, 33 were members of the Hells Angels, and I was one of them they were looking for. They raided my home in New Rochelle.
Right.
And took my wife and daughter out of bed with shotguns to their head. And they knew that I was in Japan, and that's what pissed me off.
Right. They hit 14 cities across the U.S.
Yes.
150 people were arrested. And yeah, it was a mess. So a warrant was issued for your arrest.
Yes.
And they claimed that you sold 15.8 ounces of meth in New York.
No.
Okay.
Go back. They charged me with making a telephone call to a guy who sold a pound of methamphetamine.
Got it.
I was charged with a phone call, which is only a 4-year count. I wound up getting 10 years for it because they wanted me to become a rat, of course. And, of course, I wouldn't, rather my friends told them all to go fuck themselves, and I wound up getting 10 years, and I wound up doing 6 years in prison.
Well, right. You got extradited from Tokyo.
Now, what happened was we're watching this thing on CNN News, myself and Bert, who I was there. I say, Bert, look at this. Now they're having a thing, and that's when I called home, and she goes, you just missed the feds. They just, kicked in the door and took me and Lisa out of bed with shotguns, and that's what I felt bad about, because they already knew they were doing their research already and knew that I was in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And they just harassed my family, and that's what I was pissed off at them about. So we found out there was a nationwide manhunt for us. We stayed in Japan just hoping to see what the outcome was, trying to find out what they had us charged with and everything else. That's when guys like John Miller and all became a rat, because they didn't want to go to jail. So we decided to surrender to the American Embassy in Tokyo, Japan. And we did. Mm-hmm. We went in there. But before that, I told Bert, let's do an interview with CNN News to show that we surrendered, that they didn't catch us. We're self-surrendering. They had us in a cab, showing us walking into the embassy. Take care. We got there, told them who we were. Stay here in this room. They had 2 Marines guard the door. Well, half hour later, they come back. They said, look, you can't stay here. We can't accept you here. I said, look, we're surrendering to the American Embassy. So they said, well, you can't stay here. You have to leave. I said, did you call the Japanese police? They said, yes. They're waiting outside. I said, okay, then you walk us out to the Japanese police, which they did. And they took us. Bert was in one paddy wagon. I was in another. They took us to Katsushika-ku in Tokyo, Japan, at the detention center there. And there was a big prison there with like 40-foot walls. And we get there, and the door goes open. It's like a dark place with like a 40-watt light bulb. It was just, eerie feeling. And they said they were going to extradite us the next day. They kept us in a Japanese prison for 4 months waiting to be extradited. Right. Bert was on one floor. I was on another floor.
And you said the Japanese prisons are way worse than America.
Worse.
What makes them worse?
You know what? In Japan, there's not a lot of crime that goes on, but when they do, they had these big, and they walk around the prison in military uniform. Some guys are sumo wrestlers. And you go into your cell. First of all, I was locked down 23 hours a day because I was an American. They wouldn't let me out in population. They let me out for an hour in a cage, open a thing, and I would do my martial arts. I would do my kata. They gave me a skip rope. I was, skipping rope. And all the Japanese guys were yelling, Rocky, 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 calling me Rocky, right? So, and it was a little, maybe 5 by 9 foot cell. It was small, just a bed in there and a sink and a toilet. And every day, the door would open, and the guys would be on their knees saying their number. So one day I'm doing my push-ups, and you weren't allowed to work out in the cell. Only 15 minutes to the music. And I'd be doing 1,000 push-ups a day, 1,000 sit-ups. I mean, I was jacked. And when they opened the door, I'm standing there, and they had a book, and 2 guys would be there in military uniform. And they'd be there, so they're expecting the guy to be, and they open the door, and the guys got scared, And so the next day, an interpreter came, Mr. Charles, say your number and kneel, So they were telling me my number was Sun Uniban, And he told me Sun, Ni, Ban. That's how he was telling me. And the next day I was on there, bowing to them, and they bowed, whoosh, And 4 months we were there, and he got extradited back.
Right. So now you get sent back to New York.
Now I'm sent back to New York, to MCC. Now you got to realize, in Japan, they let you out of your cell. There's like a foot and a half pad that you have to walk on. You could hear a pin drop. When the inmates get out of their cell, they put their nose to the wall. All of them. 100 guys. Nose to the wall. You don't say a peep. You could hear a pin drop in this prison. Then they turn you out, then you walk on a mat, and you go. Once I got back to MCC in New York, Metropolitan Correctional Center, got there, color TVs, pool tables. I mean, it was like a hotel. I said, wow. So we were glad when we got back there.
Well, wasn't John Gotti locked up at the same time in MCC?
Yes.
And you got to know him?
Back in the day, they had all the Hells Angels, all the Ghost Shadows, the Chinese street gangs from Chinatown, and all the 5 families got arrested. In fact, I was up on a tier. I was in 9th South. That's lockdown. You 23 hours lockdown. Same thing. And they were bringing, the guy was coming up, and now the guy's opening my cell door, and John Gotti's standing right behind him. I said, oh, shit, John Gotti, we're going to be cellmates. Next thing I hear, don't put him in with Zito. Put him in somebody else, because I was the president of my charter at the time, and he was who he was. They figured we want to talk about, crime instead of our families and what happened and everything else. So they put him in another cell. And the next day, of course, we saw each other because they let you out for an hour and you're allowed to eat together. And like I said, there was all the Ghost Shadows there, the Hells Angels, and all the wise guys.
Well, according to the Justice Department, they claimed the Hells Angels in New York were affiliated with the Gambino crime family. You heard this before?
You hear all that stuff all the time,
So they were trying to tie you into this whole organization.
They try to tie everybody together, so.
Yeah. Well, you actually attended John Gotti's funeral.
Yes.
Yeah. So did you guys keep in contact after you left, or?
Well, he died in prison. I mean, he was in prison, so, I went to his funeral, because like he says, I met him and we became friends and, show my respect. Yeah. So I went there.
Now, were you offered?
I showed up.
Yeah.
I showed up with a suit and tie. Instead of wearing a jacket, because I knew there was going to be paparazzi all over the place and feds taking pictures and everything else. And what they did was, where it was they closed down the street. So you had to walk a block. And that's where they got everybody.
Right.
Because instead of getting right to the door and walk right in, they shut the whole street down. So the feds were there taking pictures. In fact, they took a picture, Chuck Zito, Hells Angel, shows up to John Gotti's funeral.
Did you ever come in contact with his son, John Gotti Jr.?
Yes.
What's your take on him?
I know them. I mean,
it is what it is. Now, while you were locked up and you were having other Hells Angels cooperate.
Yes.
Against you.
Yes.
Were you offered a deal? Hey, cooperate and we'll make all this go away?
You know what? And me, back in the day, trying to be a tough guy and everything, he offered me a year. He offered me a year. And I says, look, I never made a phone call. All right, so, and he offered Bert 3 years. 3 years.
One-Eyed Bert?
One-Eyed Bert, yeah.
Yeah.
So they offered him 3 years and me a year. And we said, look, I never made a phone call. Fuck these guys. I'm not taking a plea. But, without being, thinking, I would have did another 4 months and I would have been home because I already got time served 4 months in Japan.
Right.
I would have did another 4 months in New York and I would have went home. But I had to be a tough guy. We both decided not to take a plea. I got 10 years. He got 14 years.
Well, right. You pled guilty to one felony count of drug conspiracy.
I pled guilty, to a telephone count.
Okay.
That's what I pled guilty to. A telephone count, which is only 4 years. I got 10.
Right. You got sentenced to 10 years for that.
Yes.
What if you had actually gone to trial and lost? What do you think you would have faced in that case?
Probably the same.
Right, because 10 years is a lot.
Yeah, 10 years is a lot.
For a phone call.
Back in the day. Like I said, a phone count's 4 years. I got 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I went to trial, I didn't have the money anyway to go to trial because lawyers get paid a lot of money.
Right, especially a big trial
but instead
like
of
that.
being, like I said, hey, fuck you, I'm not taking a plea. I didn't make no phone call. I was stubborn. If I took the plea, I would have did 4 more months. I would have been home with my family. Instead, I wound up not taking a plea, got 6 years, And
Well, you got 10, but you ended up serving 6 years.
Yeah. And turned out to be a Rule 35. I wound up getting 7 from the 10. And then I lost my good time because they had a food strike. They blamed me for the food strike in Otisville. And I wound up getting all my good time serving. And they shipped me to Louisiana.
Yeah, you were all over the place. New York,
19
Pennsylvania,
different prisons.
Virginia, Louisiana, Alabama, Oklahoma, Missouri.
Yes, 19 different prisons I was at in 6 years.
Crazy. I remember when I read Sonny Barger's book, the one thing that he stressed, which was interesting to me, was that a lot of these gangs, they get busted, everyone starts telling against each other. But he said the thing about the Hells Angels, that in general, they hold their tongues.
Yeah.
That when these big kind of, sweeping indictments happen, the Hells Angels will sit there and just be silent. No one would cooperate, and a lot of times the charges would be dropped. But in your case, you actually had other Hells Angels cooperate against you?
Yes. That's why you know who's who in the zoo when it comes down.
Yeah.
Because there was guys rolling over in a police car on the way to the police station.
Yeah. Crazy.
So guys like myself and Bert, we just held our own and, did our sentence, and that was it. But it was just, it wasn't even me. Because I was with Hells Angels. I mean, most of the time. Other times I was with, other clubs that we never got along with. But it was my family. My wife used to have to get on a plane. I mean, I was, like I said, I was all over the place.
Yeah.
I was in, Leavenworth. I was in Talladega, Alabama. I was in, Springfield, Missouri, Petersburg, Virginia. 19 different prisons in 6 years. Guys get their time. Guys do their time in one place. I was traveled 19 different times.
I mean, doing that prison time, what do you think was the worst experience, the worst situation that you got into?
I had like 10 brawls in there. That's why I was transferred a lot, because when you have a fight in prison, they transfer you.
Right, so
there's
it doesn't
no
keep
retaliation.
happening. Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I got transferred 19 different times, because I had like 10 good fights in jail.
Later on, you're one of the stars in the in the TV show Oz,
yes,
which I'll talk about. But one of the themes through Oz was all the prison rapes, right? Did you actually see any of that around you in all the prisons that you've been to?
No. Never saw that.
Right. It does happen, though. I've interviewed people.
Absolutely. You know what? If you don't stand up for your rights and what you believe in, then other guys will abuse you.
Yeah.
And take advantage of you. And a lot of that happens.
Yeah.
That's why I had, a lot of fights. I mean, some of it was over the stupid things like the TV. Go in and watch TV, and all of a sudden I'm sitting in a chair, the guy comes up, that's my chair. So I moved to another. Hey, that's my chair too. I said, oh, here's I know how this is going to happen. And next thing, boom, 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 it's over. We both go to the hole. We both get transferred because they don't want any retaliation. And that's what happens. So you got to stick up for what you believe in.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're going to get abused and taken advantage of.
I mean, any of the fights you got into, were there knives ever used? With you or the other person?
No.
No?
No, actually, we made a rule with this other guy, and I says, it's from another club, and I says, hey, no, don't wrap yourself, no knives, no nothing, just bare fists, because a lot of guys, they wrap themselves with books, and tape it, so it's
they
like
create body
a
armor,
vest,
basically,
body armor, and so you don't get stuck and everything else. So it was a fair fight, and we duked it out.
Now, you heard crazy stories. I remember I interviewed Hector Bravo, who worked as a CO for like 25 years. He was telling a story about a guy that actually, he was high off of something, and he ended up taping these knives to his hands. Like literally duct tape to the point where he couldn't get rid of the knives. So he was just, they were trying crazy, to, I think they had to shoot him eventually.
I've seen guys in front of me. I mean, like I said, over TV. I seen another guy had a guy a razor. They break the razors, they put on a toothbrush, they melt it in there, and, slice this guy, ripped his whole, chest and stomach open over a TV.
Over nothing.
Over stupidity.
Yeah.
I mean, there's guys, you got to realize, there's guys in there doing life. They'll never see the outside again. Double life, everything else.
They don't care.
They don't care.
Yeah.
They'll take yours in an instant.
Right. Well, 1991, you get released.
Yes.
How did that feel to walk out of that prison cell?
Well, like I said, it was always a story with me. After getting charged with a food strike at Otisville, they took all my good time away and put me in Louisiana. And I did my full time. They says, you're getting released today. I gave all my stuff away. You give your sneakers away. You give your commissary away. You give whatever you have, shirts. So I went to receiving and discharging that day. And I says, I'm Charles Zito, 120-32-054. You always remember your number. And they said, you can't go today. We can't release you today. I said, I maxed out. You can't hold me no more. He goes, there's a bus strike. Greyhound's on strike, and you got to wait till Monday, and we're going to fly you home.
Okay.
I said, you got to be kidding me, man. That was my life story. So I had to stay another 3 days. So now it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I go home. I had to go get some of my stuff back. And you know what? I stayed in my cell for 3 days. Because other guys know you're going home, and they'll shank you, do whatever you want.
Right.
You know, whatever they want. Just to keep you, start with something, you go to hole again, get more time. And I stayed in my cell for 3 days. I got out. They sent me to the airport. I flew to LaGuardia Airport, and my wife and daughter were waiting there for me, and that was a big thing, you know?
Yeah, those last few days could get deadly. I remember hearing stories where a guy was leaving, so he gives his radio to one inmate, and another inmate got mad because he thought he deserved the radio.
Yeah.
And then he ended up killing the guy over an argument over this radio that he didn't get.
Yes.
So he never got out. So
That's what
you see what I'm saying? It's crazy in there sometimes.
It's crazy in there. There's no rules in there.
No.
And like I said, the guys who are doing time, never getting home, they don't care about taking your life.
Yeah.
It's nothing to them.
Yeah, what do you need? Triple life?
Hey, what are you
I'm
gonna
already
do?
doing double life. What's
What
the
are you
difference?
going to do? I'm here in my life. I just got 2 more bodies on me. A third's not going to matter.
Right. Well, so now you get out.
Yes.
And you're still a Hell's Angel.
Yes.
There was
but I had 2 years non-association. I couldn't be around anybody. I couldn't be around any felons. I couldn't be around any Hells Angels. I couldn't be around anybody.
Got it.
It didn't even matter if they were never arrested before. I couldn't be around.
So you couldn't actually be a Hells Angel during this time?
No.
Okay, but by 1994, you were back with the crew. You were back with the Hells Angels by 94.
Yes.
There was a situation that happened in Rockford, Illinois, where I guess a motorist tried to cut into a motorcycle procession during the funeral of Lamont Monty Matthias.
No, Lamont was a Hell's henchman.
Okay.
He died a Hell's henchman.
Aha.
He had a motorcycle shop, and a rival club went in there and shot him to death and stabbed him and everything. So the Hell's henchmen were trying to become Hell's Angels.
Aha.
But Monty was still a member of the Hell's henchmen when he died.
Right. He was killed by an outlaw?
I don't know who he was killed by.
That's what they say.
You know?
Right. But the motorist that tried to cut in to this procession ended up getting shot in the leg. And I guess you were questioned over it, but ultimately he ended up not pressing charges, so you were let go.
No, I was never questioned.
You
about
never
anything.
questioned?
Yeah, I wasn't there.
Okay.
I wasn't there.
Oh, you weren't there? Okay, well.
No.
Well, Wikipedia, is throwing you into a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot of bullshit on that internet, man, you know?
Right.
But I wasn't there. I wasn't there for that. And I never made his funeral, Monty's. Another guy who got shot to death on his way to, was sitting at work in his van having coffee, was 4x, and he got shot to death. And I wound up going to his funeral. You know.
There was another. Then
after the funeral, of course. No, I'm sorry. This was a different thing I'm talking about. But I went to his funeral. I never went to Monty's funeral.
Okay. There was another situation where you were with a group of 20 Hells Angels and you guys got arrested at O'Hare International Airport.
Yeah.
Basically, they had you guys under surveillance, and you and 2 other drivers, were charged with speeding, and the passengers were charged with disorderly conduct. They claimed they found some white powdery substance, but no weapons.
There was nothing in it.
But the case was ultimately dismissed, and you guys sued, right?
What happened was we went there when the Hells Angels finally earned their patches. I'm the one who brought the patches there with 20 other Hells Angels. We, celebrated with them. We had 3 different vans. And we were leaving the party, and 2 vans went one way, I went another way. They got stopped by the toll booth by all the feds and everybody. I make it back to the rental, return, gave the truck back, and we're walking through the airport, and the next thing you know, a bunch of guys came out with shotguns and everything, put us on the ground. You're under arrest. Then we found out the other 2 vans, they were already in jail. We got there, and they tried to say there was no Hells Angels allowed in Chicago.
Is that even legal?
So, well, it wasn't legal.
Yeah.
But they were just breaking our balls.
Okay.
So they held us there all day and everything else. And I says, we're going to sue. And we wound up suing them, and we won $250,000.
Right. You got 9,000 of that.
What?
They say you got 9,000 of that 250.
Yeah, well, half goes to the club and half goes to the guys who are,
Exactly.
Yeah, so guys, they will have what they do. But we wound up suing them because, of course, it was illegal. There was no signs. That's why I said, show me a sign where it says no Hells Angels allowed.
Well, yeah, I actually looked it up. The Netherlands are the first country that actually made being a Hells Angel illegal in the country. Now, other countries like Germany would outlaw certain factions, but not the whole Hells Angels. But the Netherlands is actually illegal, and the Supreme Court actually confirmed it at one point. So you cannot be a Hells Angel legally in the Netherlands.
I don't know. I never went to the Netherlands.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter to you. But yeah, it's just interesting.
But it does happen throughout the world. Everybody has their own has their own laws. But like I said again, I quit the club over 20 years ago.
Exactly.
And to keep discussing the club.
Yeah. Well, 1996, you get on the show Oz. As Chucky Pancamo?
Oz.
Yes, on your chain.
Yes.
And you were the leader of the Italian mob in prison?
So, just to show you how I got on that, I was at the premiere of Only in America, the Don King story.
Aha.
And I was there, and Tom Fontana was there with Dean Winters.
That's the producer of Oz.
Yes, the producer and creator of Oz. So I'm there, and my memory's going, man. Anyway, I'm there, and I was introduced to Tom Fontana, and he goes, Chuck just came out of prison. Maybe he could be, an advisor for the show. And Tom goes, you got a great face. Do you act? I says, yeah, of course, which I never acted before. So he goes, come down. I want you to read for Oz. And that's what happened. I went down. I read for this. The guy's name was Sam Pancamo in the script. When I got the part, they changed it to Chucky Pancamo. And I became Chucky Pancamo, the leader of the. Well, first I was like the bodyguard to the leader there. After he got killed, I became
the new leader.
I was the longest reigning mob boss in the history of Oz.
Right. I've always wanted to know, how did Edibisi keep that beanie on his head?
Everybody asks me.
You know what I'm saying? Like
everybody
that beanie.
Asks me that. What
man, he could be swimming underwater.
Yeah.
He could be upside down doing somersaults, and that beanie does not come off.
Okay, we'll go back to how I was. Brian Hamill was a photographer on movie sets. I was with him watching his show, and he introduced me to Tom Fontana and Dean Winters. And that's when he saw me, and I went to read, and like I said, they changed it from Sam Pancamo to Chucky Pancamo. But a lot of people asked me about that hat. What happened was, he shaved his head.
Right.
So he used to leave it like, a day growth in there where it was stubbles. So it was like Velcro.
Yeah.
He just had it on there and would stay. I mean, the hat was right here, you know? And it was like Velcro. And it used to just stick on there.
Right.
And that's how he was.
But that was always a running joke when people, when Oz was on TV, it was like, how does he keep this hat on, man? Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
Well, 1998, you were at a nightclub and Jean-Claude Van Damme was there. Now, you had previously done bodyguard work for him.
Yes. In 1992, I was his bodyguard. And we went to the martial arts World of Fame over there in Vegas. And I was with him. And then we didn't work for each other. I mean, we got along well. And then I haven't seen him in 6 years. And I was at Scores one night with, just having dinner. And he came walking in with Mickey Rourke and like 5 guys. And that's how that thing happened,
Yeah, well, he allegedly told one of the bouncers that you have no heart.
Yeah.
And the bouncer relayed that information to you. So you confronted him with that.
Yeah.
And he admitted to it. He goes, yeah, I said it.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
It didn't go well for him,
Right.
So, but that's another thing. That thing happened in 98.
Yeah.
What is it, 27 years ago?
Yeah. Well, you
know what? I just felt bad because I got so much publicity from somebody else's misfortune.
Right. You were on Howard Stern talking about it.
Yeah.
Did you break your hand?
What happened was the next day, I just took it as another fight. Actually, I broke my hand on his head.
You broke your hand.
Broke my hand. And the crazy thing about it, Monday I start Oz. So I couldn't go to get a cast on because I would have lost the job. So I just let it, heal. The next day in the paper, the post, it shows a picture of Jean-Claude with a bicep pose. It says Jean-Claude Van Slammed. And the second page, it says Chuck Zito, bodyguard, his bodyguard, and actor, and a star of the HBO series Oz. I didn't work one day. I'm looking at that. I said, I'm going to get fired. The next thing you know, Howard Stern says, you hear about the guy that bitch slapped Jean-Claude Van Damme last night? He goes, boo, you get him on the show. So they would call me, and I said, look, I wasn't even at Scores because I heard he was going to press charges against me. So I denied it. I said I wasn't there. And Mickey called me up. He goes, look, he's going to press charges. You got to watch this. Wow, okay. So I denied the whole thing. And then wound up he never did. So I wound up doing Howard. On Monday, I go to the set of Oz. The first one I walk into is Tom Fontana. And he goes, I read the paper. I said, shit, this guy's going to fire me, man. And he goes, couldn't you hit this guy when the show aired? You got so much publicity. So that was cool. But like I said, it was something that was, misfortune. And it took us 17 years to talk to each other.
Well, the report said that after you knocked him out, you said, this ain't the movies, this is the street, and I own the street.
Yeah, I said that.
You said that?
I said that, yeah.
Okay.
I said to him, this ain't the movies. This is the fucking street. And I own the fucking street. Boom, 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 boom.
So 17 years later, you guys
Now what happened was
meet up and talk?
At the, we haven't talked, never saw each other. And, no, I'm sorry. I have to say, 2 months later, I was in a restaurant in L.A., and we ran into each other. But he was drunk that night. He was with a bunch of people. And, why you beat me up in New York? And I just said, look, I'm not going to talk about it. And what happened was he went outside. I had a girl with me. We want to go outside. And he was drunk. So he was trying to drive. He got the guy out of the car. He's trying to go in there. And I went up there, so I got him out of the car, put him back in the the passenger seat. The other guy started going. So I went up ahead, and I see him jump out again, take him out. So I told the girl I was with, I says, do me a favor, you see me get in the car, just follow us. And meanwhile, he had like 10 other people with him. There was like 4-car, procession there.
Yeah.
So I wound up driving him home. I got him out. I said, look, Jean-Claude, I'll drive you home. And drove him home.
Was he trying to fight you in the car at all? Or?
Yeah, so he goes
trying to get his get back right there?
Yeah. It was revenge time. So I start driving. The girl follows me. His entourage follows, and we're driving. Then he turns around and he goes, I'm Jean-Claude Van Damme. Bah, bah, bah. And I say, take it easy, man, take it easy, because I thought he was going to hit me across,
Yeah.
So he punched a windshield.
Oh.
He had a brand new Mercedes. Brand new. Hits the windshield, shattered the whole windshield. And I say, take it easy, So I wound up driving him home, get him upstairs, and that was it. I leave. People thank me. The next day I get a call from him. He goes, look, it's JC. I say, JC. He goes, I want to thank you for taking me home. I said, look, I'm not worried about you. You might have hit somebody with a little kid in it, hurt somebody. Look, let's bygones be bygones. Let's get back to work and everything. I said, look, if you're sincere, let's go to work, because we did a couple of movies together. Never heard from him again. 17 years later, I went to the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight.
Okay.
In Vegas. Mayweather came out, said hello to his family. I was the second guy he came up to, hugged me. I said, congratulations. Jean-Claude sitting with his daughter, Bianca, watching the fight. He says, that's Chuck D. She goes, yeah. He goes, invite him to my movie premiere. He had a movie premiere at the Grumman's Chinese Theater. And I went. He came up to me, he goes, thank you for coming. I say, thank you for inviting me. We hugged and kissed each other, and it was over. So 17 years later, we finally became friends.
Nice.
And then I saw him a few other times at Cafe Roma. I actually had shirts made up with me and my dad with the boxing pose. I gave him one, and he wore it all the time. A lot of TV shows he did, I saw it, and it was,
nice.
Just nice. So we're friends.
Well, you allegedly slapped Gary Busey?
Yeah.
What was that over?
A girl.
Okay.
Another girl. Back in the day. I was happened to be at Gary. Because of him, they changed the helmet law. So
right, because he fell and cracked his head open.
Cracked his head on a curb.
Yeah.
He just bought a motorcycle. He just left the bike shop.
I remember this. This was, late 80s, 89 maybe? Yeah, and then they made the helmet law, and he was one of the people that was trying to oppose the helmet law, even though he cracked his head open.
No, this was later than that.
Maybe 90? I remember
I
when
don't
this
even
happened.
know when it was. You know?
So you slapped him up?
Yeah, what happened was he came in, and I was at the Rainbow Bar and Grill.
On Sunset?
Yeah, Sunset. I used to go there. When I was in California, I was there every night. Every night.
Yeah, no, I used to hang out.
They had like 15, 16 of my pictures all over the place.
Yeah.
Once Mario died, his son took it over. And one day I came in, I saw all my pictures gone. I went up to him, I said, hey, what happened to the pictures? He goes, hey, this is a rock and roll place. I said, your father had my pictures up for 16 years. I said, give me my pictures, I'll never come here again. And that had to be probably 13 years ago. I never walked a foot in that place, But, Gary Busey was something else, and he was just crazy, very disrespectful.
He seems crazy.
Huh?
He seems crazy. Gary Busey, like
I told him,
that's not an act when you...
I said, sit down. I says, you know what? Let me tell you something. I says, I was going to knock you out tonight, put you in a coma, and just don't ever, do it again. He goes, jumps up over it, he looks at me, he points at my face, this far away. Let me tell you something. That was it. Boom.
Just smacked him. Open hand.
Open hand. He fell backwards. Call the cops. Boom, I hit him again. So.
That was that.
Yeah, there's a few things. That's why I don't work no more, because everybody's, everybody says I'm known for being a
too many
Baptist.
Celebrities. Yeah. I feel you.
That's why I never got on, what do you call it? I tried to get on Sopranos. And I went to James Gandolfini in the day.
And respectfully, I'm going to disagree with you because you said that Oz is a better show than Sopranos.
Absolutely.
I'm going to have to give it to Sopranos. I'm sorry. No
Get
disrespect.
outta here,
No
get outta
disrespect.
here.
Sopranos was epic.
It was a good show. But
Oz was
better.
great also.
I
Oz,
used to tell everybody from Sopranos, you ever come to Oz, we'd spank you guys. Literally.
If there was like a merging of the universes together. Yeah,
so
okay.
What happened was, I was trying to, after Oz ended, I was trying to go to Sopranos because if you remember, Edie Falco was a guard there.
Right, yeah.
She played the wife.
Yeah, I forgot about that, yeah.
So I wrote a little synopsis how Chucky Pancamo just got released after 20 years in prison. You know, now he goes to
Jersey.
Goes to the crew.
Yeah.
And he goes, who's this guy, Chucky Pancamo? He says, hey, T, we don't know. We'll find out. So they come back to me because, T, this guy's a serious guy. 2 guys went to whack him. He sent him home in body bags. You know, so next thing we're in this diner like The Godfather, you know, a little thing. I'm there with James Gandolfini and the other crew was right next to this table. And he goes, well, how could I help you? I said, well, you know what? I forgot the guy's character's name, but it was Apriya. You know, I forgot his character name, but he told me when I get out of Oz, you know, when I get home, that he has a job waiting for me. He goes, well, I don't know if you know, but the guy is not around no more. I said, well, that's what I heard, but I heard you're the one who whacked him. But, you know, business is business. I'm just trying to get a job. He goes, well, I don't know if I could help you. I saw out of the clear blue, I said, hey, who's your favorite actor? And I remember they did a scene with Dean Martin on the boat. He goes, Dean Martin. I said, me? James Cagney. I said, you remember that scene in White Heat where he goes, where the guy comes in, they're all sitting in a chow hall in a prison. How's Ma? How's Ma? How's Ma? She's dead. She's dead. She's dead. He bangs the thing, and I bang the thing. He ducks down. These guys go for their guns. I said, I expect to see you in 24 hours. You know, hear from you in 24 hours.
Yeah.
What it does is they sent 2 guys to whack me. I sent them home in body bags to be continued. I mean, it would have been a great crossover, but they never gave it to me. And he says, well, we don't give anybody from ours. I said, you gave Edie Falco a job, you know?
Yeah.
David, you know, said that, and that was it. Never got a job.
Well,
and James, actually, you know, going back to it, James says, look, Chuck, everybody here on the show is scared of you. That's
is that what it is?
Yeah,
James
Gandolfini.
Gandolfini. Yeah,
I was in
Tony Soprano.
Tony Soprano. I was in his dressing room, you know, in his trailer. He goes, everybody's scared of you on the show. I said, why? He goes, well, you know, you're known for beating up actors. You know, that's not a good... I said, look, James, anybody disrespects me, we'll take it to the next level. But I'm here trying to get a job, you know?
Well, you beat up Jean-Claude Van Damme, Gary Busey. Who am I forgetting? Are there other actors that you smacked up?
Mickey Rourke.
Oh,
AJ
you beat up Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
Over what?
Just another stupid thing, just disrespected.
Okay, and you said Tony Danza?
No.
Mickey Rourke and who else?
AJ Benza.
AJ Benza.
Mickey Rourke. Who else? Like it says, you know, just.
Oh yeah, the
it
writer.
Goes through. You know, we became friends. We're all friends again.
Well, 2002, there was the Hellraiser. There was the Hellraiser ball.
Oh, here we go, but the Hells Angels again. You're asking me about the Hells Angels and all. Okay.
You were there.
Yes.
The Hells Angels get ambushed by the pagans.
No, nobody got ambushed.
No?
Nobody got ambushed. There was myself and Sonny Bargo. We were in a room signing autographs. His book came out, my book came out. We were there. And they said 100 pagans came in, you know, 10 van loads. And there was somebody happened to be a Hells Angel in the lobby. They came in and started hitting people with axe handles. And a couple of guys got shot. One guy got killed, and they all ran out.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
1 person got killed, 10 injured, 73 pagans were indicted.
Yeah.
On federal racketeering charges in the aftermath. It was a mess. And I think that same year was the River Run riot, which I don't think you were involved in.
No.
But that was a mess as well.
You know, there's a lot of history going back from since they started, so we're not going to get on every little incident that happened with the club. And like I said, I quit the club over 20 years ago.
Well, that was my next point. In 2004, you were 51 years old. You officially left the Hells Angels after 25 years.
Yes.
Was there a reason why you left?
Was there a reason why I left?
Yeah.
That's between me and the Hells Angels and nobody else's business.
Okay, fair enough.
You know?
But you left under good terms.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Did you have to give back the patch, or you got to keep the patch?
Everything that with Hells Angels, anything that says Hells Angels, any jewelry, anything, you have to give it back to the club because they own the name. They own everything. And you're just using it, you know? So everything, even if you leave the club in good standing, you have to give everything back.
So you gave everything back to them?
Everything back, yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Did you have Hells
Jewelry
Angels?
I gave to people, you know, that I was good friends with, my buckle, to certain people, you know, guys that were really close. But you give everything back. No matter who it is, you always give it back to the club because basically they own it.
Yeah.
You know?
And is that normal for people to leave the Hells Angels under good terms? Or is that rare?
Anybody leaves in good terms, of course, who was out honorably. You still got to give all your stuff back. Some guys get thrown out. Some guys, you know.
So if you just tell them, listen, I want to focus on raising my family. You know, I can't really do, you know, what's required anymore. I want to leave. Is it usually just fine, or is there issues sometimes?
Of course.
Free to leave.
You know, after 25 years, I left the club. You know.
Yeah.
It wasn't for any specific, you know, reason. It's just, and you know what? That gets me crazy because some people say, of course, on the internet, and he left the club because he wanted to focus on his career, which that's all bullshit.
You were focusing on your career the whole time.
Yeah. If it wasn't for the Hells Angels, I wouldn't have a movie career. Basically, I'd still be a guy in New Rochelle. And I always say that. And I always give Sandy Alexander and the Hells Angels the credit because I got involved being a stuntman in the movie business because of Sandy Alexander. And I always gave them credit, and I always gave them props. And I always reciprocated by, if I got parts in movies, I gave them to Hells Angels. All the guys in the Bronx Tale are Hells Angels, except for two. You know, there was all Hells Angels there. I got them a part there, you know. Chaz Palminteri and Robert De Niro came to me and asked, you know, they wanted the real guys, and I got them for them. My first stunt coordinating job, you know, now I'm in power to hire people. I hired 32 of my friends, my first stunt coordinating job, because I had that power. So I always reciprocated. Anything I did, I always put a Hells Angel in. Even when I was bodyguarding Liza Minnelli, I had Hells Angels bodyguarding, you know, for me. If I had to do something, if I needed more guys, I had Hells Angels. I also had police officers because my family, some of my family members were police officers. I got them also. And it was different situations. If I needed a lot of guys, I used guys in the club. You know?
Well, speaking of motorcycle gangs,
Here we go.
you actually pitched an idea for a show about motorcycle gangs to FX.
FX.
They turned you down, and lo and behold,
Yes.
Sons of Anarchy comes out.
Yes.
How pissed off were you when you saw that show?
I had a meeting. Well, the people representing me had a meeting with John Landgraf and Nick Rad, who was the vice president of FX, and they brought this, you know, show. And they pitched the idea, and they thought about it. Like 10 days later, they says, you know what, we're not going. We don't want to do a motorcycle show, and we pass. Next thing you know, a year later, we go with this different representation and try again. They said, look, we can't take the meeting. We're already working on a motorcycle show. I said, well, where'd you get the idea from? You know? So what happened was, of course, Kurt Sutter was working on the Shield with FX. And, you know, I always said my show was called, Wild Angels. It was about a bike club. And I says, I think they took the show from me, and I tried to sue them, and I lost summary judgment.
Right, you sued them for $5 million.
$5 million, yeah.
But the summary judgment was ruled in their favor, ultimately.
Well, what happened was the judge, I came in, I had a great judge, actually. And the judge, we went to the chambers, look, I want this settled. I don't want to go to court. Settle this with, FX and everything else. and he would take off his robe. He had a leather vest on. You know, the guy. He was an older guy, big guy, and we always got along well. And the next thing you know, they changed judges on me. Now, I went with my lawyer. FX went with 5 different lawyers from 5 different law firms. And they'd come in and, you know, show all kinds of things, and I showed my thing, and they wound up changing judges on me. You know, like 2 years into or probably a year and a half into the lawsuit. So I went to court, and the judge says, I don't think they stole Mr. Zito's idea. I think it was self-created, case dismissed. And I said, look at this. You know, it just goes to what money and power does. So I says, I'm going to appeal it. So we put appeal in. 2 days later, my lawyer calls me, goes, Kurt Sutter wants to meet you, you know, face to face. And I said, great, you know, great. What alley does he want to meet me in, you know? He goes, no, he wants to talk to you. I said, about what? He goes, well, he's probably going to apologize to you because he said something on his, of course, the computer there says, you know, Chuck Zito, FS actor, he thinks he's going to sue me and my client. I mean, my partner's a lot bigger than him. He's a bigger outlaw than him, Rupert Murdoch. Right? I said, okay.
Rupert Murdoch that's a big deal, though.
He's a big deal, man. He's a big deal. So I said, okay. So I said, okay, I'll meet him. Tell him Beverly Hills Cafe Roma. Now, I was working with Charlie Sheen at the time. He gives Charlie Sheen a Sons of Anarchy jacket. Charlie gives it to me. I wear it to the meeting. But he had a little tag on it, said Charlie on the bottom, right?
That's funny.
So I go and I meet him. He comes up to me, he goes, he goes, Mr. Zito, look, first of all, I said, wait a minute. I said, how do you like my jacket? Just to show him how much I love your show. And he looks at it. And he said, that's Charlie's jacket? I said, yeah, he gave it to me. So we sit down and we start talking. Now I'm ready. And, you know, me, I'm just ready to beat everybody up, right? So we start talking, and he goes, I want to apologize because I said something derogatory about somebody I never met. But I was after seeing you in the, you know, in the transcripts there, you know, having transcripts, I knew you were a serious person. I said, I'm serious as a heart attack, man. My first thing was to come here and knock you the fuck out, you know.
Did he come with a bodyguard or anything?
No, he came by himself.
Okay.
No, he's got balls, man. Let me tell you something.
I would have taken that meeting by myself, but okay. I would have brought a bodyguard with me. I'm just saying. Someone who's pissed off, I probably wouldn't even gone to the meeting. But had I gone to the meeting, I would have armed security with me.
Now we sit down. I got to tell you, 10 minutes later, I like the guy. It was like we knew each other for 20 years. He offered me a part in the show.
Right. You were in the 5th season. Yeah, as Frankie Diamonds.
Frankie Diamonds. Now, what happened was my lawyer is telling me to take it because now they're going to pay my lawyer because my lawyer's not making money unless I win the case.
Right.
He took it on contingency.
Yeah.
So he's not getting paid. They were going to pay his whole salary or whatever he was going to charge, you know, get if he won. But they spent $3 million on 5 lawyers.
Wow.
They should have just gave me the money, and I would have just, okay, great. I would have walked away. So I wound up working on the 5th season of Sons of Anarchy as Frankie Diamonds.
Right.
And guess what? I told him, I guarantee it'll be the highest rated season you ever had. Not only was it the highest rated season, it was the highest rated season of FX, period. You know. So, but my lawyer should have advised me because they just signed for 3 more years, which is unheard of. That show was a great show. Yeah. They signed it for 3 more years.
And they had the spinoff of the Mayans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They signed for 3 more years. My lawyer should have told me, look, you can't kill him off. He's a main character, and he's on the show for the next 3 years. Because it would have been great for me. I would have, you know, instead, in the 5th season, the 8th episode, I get killed. So really, I wasn't there long enough to make enough money.
Yeah.
And all these guys go to all these Comic-Cons. Still to this day, they're making money.
Yeah.
Selling, whatever, their books, they're, signing autographs, posters, everything. Till this day, everybody's making money off that show. But I wasn't in it long enough to make that kind of money, which I wish I was. But if I knew they signed for 3 more years, I would have said, look, I'm a main character. If not, I appeal it. That's it. And I think they would have just gave me the 3 years, But me and Kurt Sutter, we became friends. He was actually a nice guy.
Yeah.
Smart guy, and he had balls, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, man, listen, I would have taken that meeting with you. I'm just letting you know right now. If you're ever pissed off at me in the future, if you want to meet up, I'm not coming alone. I'm letting you know right now.
So I got to get you today while there's nobody here.
That's right. Yeah, you got to get at me right now.
Don't piss me off now. Don't piss me off. Let's stop talking about the club, man.
Yeah, I'm all done with that.
Oh, you're all done? Thank you.
Okay. You're 71 years old.
71, yes.
You can't tell by looking at you. You've never drank. You've never taken drugs.
I never drank, never took a drug, never
even
smoked.
though you were around, between the Hells Angels and the actors and whatever else, people are taking drugs all around you.
More people. I was around more people. It was like a drugstore.
Yeah.
Between whoever was doing drugs in the club, all the actors, everybody. But I never did it because you know what? I was always wanting to be on my toes and, be alert. So I've seen guys, actors, everybody else just walking around all stoned out, this, that. I could never do that. And I never wanted to do it, so I never did it. Till this day. That's why I look like this at 71.
Yeah, listen, a close friend of mine who was a Crip when he was younger, one day he realized that every person he knew who got killed were high when they got killed, or high off something.
Yeah.
Whether they're weed, drinking, cocaine, whatever else, every single time they were high. So he told himself if he's going to be out there during that time, he needs to stay sober. Yes. And eventually he transitioned and he became, a manager, like a high-end manager in the music industry. But I remember that always stuck with me. You know what I'm saying? So these guys that are out there, they're basically being intoxicated all the time. You're basically asking to die or go to prison.
Yeah.
If that's the lifestyle that you're going to lead.
I've known so many people that died of drugs or died of, some crazy because they were all stoned.
Yeah.
I've seen guys that, couldn't even stand up, crack their head on the fucking ground. It's crazy. So I never got into that.
Well, plus, the way that the Hells Angels ride really close to each other.
Yeah.
And I remember Pee-wee was telling me how he just saw some grisly accidents of people just, with girls dying, guys dying. I mean, have you seen a lot of really bad accidents while you guys are riding like that?
They ride in formation, two abreast.
Yeah, really close to each other.
I would say 10 feet apart from me, wheel to wheel.
Yeah. Did you get into any bad motorcycle accidents?
I've had 4 of them.
4 accidents?
4 accidents, yeah. Yeah.
What was the worst one?
We were actually riding one year. Fuck, it had to be 30 years ago. We were riding up to a place called Am Jam. It was a big motorcycle meet. And had to be probably 30 of us in a pack. And I was in the middle. And what happened was there was construction, so there's 3 lanes went into one. A car cut the front pack off. Everybody started hitting each other. I didn't want to hit a guy in front of me. Him and his girlfriend fell in front of me. I turned around, jammed on my brakes, and my bike just flipped. And the next day I see a car coming, and I lost consciousness. And
you got hit by a car?
I was under.
Oh, you're under the car?
Under the car.
Damn.
Where he almost ran me over. And I was out. I saw it coming, and I woke up, and I was in a helicopter. They landed a helicopter on the New York State thruway.
Wow.
On New York State thruway. They blocked traffic on both ends, north and south. Helicopter landed. They put me. I was in a basket on a helicopter outside.
Yeah.
And I wound up waking up, and I'm like seeing the sky. So I'm dead. Not realizing I'm in heaven.
Okay.
All I saw was the sky, and I'm saying, I'm dead. And I was in a helicopter on my way to the hospital.
Man, listen, you're a better man than I am because I've always been scared to death of motorcycles because of the accidents that happen. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm in a car
and most
with
of it's
airbags
from cars around you.
Yeah, getting hit by a car. Like, it's just too. I just felt it was too dangerous, and I don't pay attention enough.
Yeah,
I'm on my phone, I'm on the radio, like, you know, I'm listening to music. I'm like, I'll just avoid it. So I've never actually ridden a motorcycle myself.
I got that when I was in the hospital for about a month on that one.
I mean, the fact that you went through accidents like that and got back on a motorcycle
Another
again.
one, I hit a pothole
Ooh.
coming in the Bronx.
Damn.
Coming down Shore Road. And I hit a pothole. The bike just flipped out from under me. I went flying through the air. I see the bike pass me. A car comes around, hits the bike. It was a Marlboro bike from the movie Harley Davidson, the Marlboro Man.
Okay.
I'm on. And then I just flipping. I mean, I probably went 70 feet, just head over heel, you know, back and forth, tumbling. Finally came to rest, and I laid on my back. And I lost all my air out, and I got my air back, and I leaned up, and I saw my foot was turned the other way, my leg. And I saw, oh, man, I'm fucked up, man. I laid there. I snapped my leg in 8 places. I had 14 screws, 2 pins, and all kinds in my leg. Went to the hospital, was there.
And you got on a motorcycle after that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, actually, they took me in the Bronx hospital. I got transferred the next day to New Rochelle. They couldn't fix it. It was so bad, they brought me to the hospital for special surgery in Manhattan. And I was there for a good month. So I was on that. Yeah, two bad accidents. No, I had 4 bad accidents.
4 bad accidents.
And the first one, I'm going up North Avenue. A car he made a left over the WL line, and I'm cranking, man. I couldn't, stop in time. I laid it down, and me and the car, the bike went underneath, and I'm just laying there. I got out. I felt everything was okay. And it was in a black section, no less. And the black guy I'm taking my helmet off, and I says, who the fuck was driving that car? Guy goes, me. Boom! Knocked him out. And I'm bleeding. My clothes are ripped off me, and I got arrested. That was my first one. And the second one, I'm going down a West Side Highway. I got dark glasses on, which I never wore again at night because I couldn't see anything. And we were like by 10th Street, and it was a divider there. I didn't see it. And
you went into the divider.
I hit this, not the divider, but it was a curb. It was a curb. There was a sign there. I wound up hitting this thing. Boom, boom. I took the sign down with my face. Broke my nose, everything.
Wow.
So 4 bad accidents, but I still get on a ride.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was in Sonny Barger's book, he said that a lot of Hell's Angels would carry hammers with them when they would ride, and if guys would cars would cut them off, they'd smash their windshield with the hammers. Yeah. Is that a normal thing?
I had, back in the day when you were allowed to carry nunchucks in public.
You had nunchucks with you?
I had, and my wife was on the back of my bike, and I had nunchucks in a pouch, a bungee cord to my sissy bar. Mm-hmm. And a guy cut me off, and my friend. So I went after the guy, and he tried to cut me off. He went out the window. He had 4 guys with him. Went out with a window with a knife. And I took, as I'm riding now, I take my nunchucks out, spin them, bam! I smashed his window. He went up on a curb, through somebody's lawn to get out the other side. And that's when my wife was banging on my back, stop this shit! But I used to carry nunchucks. I used to hit the cars.
That's wild.
Then it, of course, became outlawed, so I couldn't...
Hey, man, listen, we're all Bruce Lee fans. I think all of us at one point had a set of nunchucks. I remember my dad made me some out of 2 broom handles. Put them together, with a little screw.
These were like little billy clubs, actually. They looked like billy clubs with a chain. And I used to do them, everybody after Bruce Lee seen it,
Exactly.
And to the Dragon and everything else. And that's why I became a martial artist after watching Bruce Lee and the Green Hornet. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of guys used to see, became
we
a martial
all
artist
love
after
Bruce
that.
Lee. And I remember one of the most infamous clips from my interviews with Michael Jai White.
Michael Jai White's a good martial artist.
He is a good martial artist, right. And what he explained that people would always take out of context was based on Bruce Lee's size and his size.
Right.
He said, in a fight, he would beat Bruce Lee just because he's physically a lot bigger and also knows martial arts.
Bruce
and people
Lee was
like,
only,
I'd forgotten how small Bruce Lee was.
Yeah, see, the thing is, I made a mistake.
What does he weigh, like 160 pounds or
No,
something?
132.
132, there you go.
I mistakenly said that.
I might be able to beat Bruce Lee.
Look,
I'll tackle him first.
the fact is, you know, I am one of these people who, like a lot of action people, stars, or, you know, martial arts stars, I benefit by the belief that martial arts heroes can beat a whole slew of people. I benefit. My family gets fed behind that. So I can't hate on that very much. So that illusion of a martial artist being able to just beat up everybody.
Well, I think you said that at one point you beat up 5 guys at once.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not all myth.
Well, it's a different thing. It's a different thing. I hit real fucking hard. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I mean, and most people are not used to that shit.
And you weigh how much?
225.
Yeah, so there you have it.
Yeah, and I've done it all my life. So it's a different thing. So, but if I had said that amongst fighters, they'd completely understand. There's not one real fighter that would dispute what I said.
Right.
Because
a
they know.
220-pounder versus a 130-pounder.
Yeah, at the time I said I was 235, but it's like
100+ pounds.
Exactly, and then somebody who is not a fighter. So even if it's amongst elite fighters, Floyd Mayweather is, and I'll defend this with anybody, is the most advanced fighter who ever lived. It should be no disputing that. No disputing that. But there's no freaking way in the world he's going to beat Mike Tyson. He could run across the street and dive off a table and punch Mike Tyson with all he has, and it's not going to affect him.
Yeah.
It's just physics. It's just not. So when I say, oh yeah, it could have been Bruce Lee, I wish I didn't say that because he's my hero too.
Yeah, Bruce Lee was a small guy.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh no, Bruce Lee would have killed Michael Jai White. And it's like, if you know martial arts, you know that's not going to happen.
But Michael Jai White's a great martial artist.
Exactly.
I've trained in 8 different styles, and I believe he did the same.
Yeah.
He's trained in a lot of different styles, a good martial artist, very strong, good kicker, everything.
Yeah.
And a great friend of mine, so.
Yeah, I'd put my money on Michael.
Yeah.
But people don't understand because people, I think, they deify Bruce Lee to the point where they feel that he would just kill anybody on the planet, you know?
Well, you know what?
But it just doesn't work that
hand
way.
it to Bruce Lee because he's really the first one who brought it to the mainstream.
Absolutely.
You know, he was in, Kato in the Green Hornet.
Right.
He also had, if you remember Mean Streets, you remember that with Franciosa, the blind guy?
Yeah.
He was teaching him.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, he was supposed to do Kung Fu, the show. That was based on his idea that they stole from him. Yeah.
Yes, in fact, yeah. They used David Carradine. Imagine
Exactly.
that.
Yeah. They chose
Bruce
a
Lee
white
was-
Asian guy to, you know.
White Asian guy, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So he was very mad about that when they
Yeah.
picked him. I mean, he would have been
bet.
great for that show, Kung Fu. Let's say it
would have been perfect.
It was Bruce Lee.
Right.
But everybody I talked to, my generation, Bruce Lee inspired them.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
It's
100%.
just like
Even my
Muhammad
generation.
Ali inspired
Yeah.
a lot of people.
Even my generation.
But Bruce Lee was it, man. Even till this day, you pick up a magazine. I don't care if he's in the front cover, the back cover, the side covers. He's always in it somewhere. Bruce Lee.
True.
Till this day.
True.
Now you got to realize he died in 1973.
Right.
That's a long time ago.
That's the year I was born.
That was the year you were born.
73.
That's when I bought these boots in 73.
But you're still getting into fistfights at age 71.
Yeah.
I guess Rocky Marciano's great-grandson
Yeah.
tried to confront you at
Now-
one point?
You know, I did a. What happened there? I was in a restaurant. I was with my friend Mike Conti, who does all my T-shirts. They make everything for me. And we were in a restaurant in New Rochelle, and we had a great time, great dinner, great dessert, everything. I said, you know what? Let me hit the men's room before I go home. So I start walking, and there was a bar. Had to be 30 feet long, the bar. I start walking. The guy yells from the other side, who's standing there eating. And he goes, hey, are you Chuck? I says, yeah. I want to see you when you get out. And I'm saying to myself, fuck, this guy sounds hostile, man, you know? So I go in there. I come back. I went up to the guy. You're Chuck Zito? I says, yes. I shake his hand. He goes, let me ask you something. what would you do if somebody disrespected you, your family, your name? I said, I'd knock him the fuck out. He goes, exactly. You disrespected me, my family, and my name. I said, oh, really? I said, who the fuck are you? That's not the point. Here's my card. We're going to see each other outside this fucking restaurant, and we'll take care of it. I said, no, fuck you and your card. We'll take care of it right now. I said, you said something. So he goes, you said something about my great-grandfather. I said, oh, really? Who's your great-grandfather? Marciano. I said, Rocky Marciano? I said, I know exactly what I said about Rocky Marciano. I said he came at a great era when he fought old men. Rocky Marciano was 26 years old. He fought a 38-year-old Jersey Joe Walcott. Jersey Joe Walcott beat him for 13 rounds. Just outmaneuvered the way he moved. But Rocky got him against the ropes. He hit him a right hand, knocks him out. That's boxing. I said he fought a 40-year-old Joe Louis. A 42-year-old Izzy Charles, and maybe a 45-year-old Archie Moore. I said that. He goes, well, you don't know shit about boxing. So I said, oh, really? I said, let me tell you something. He goes, don't point your fucking finger at me. I said, really? I said, let's go outside. You know, we walk outside. I said, now you got something to say? You want to do something? He goes, hey, you know, my time, my rules. And he goes back inside. And now I'm fuming. I'm furious, man. I go back inside. Your time, your rules. Come outside, motherfucker. Come outside. Now I look at the restaurant. Everybody's looking at me. I said, The owner comes up. He goes, hey, take it easy, guys. I said, mind your business. You come outside. We walked outside. With that, I said, your time, your rules. Boom, I bitch slapped him. Knocked him out with a bitch slap. And I should have ended it. But I got so mad, I hit him a right hand, left hook, right hand. Boom. He's out. With that, as soon as I smacked him, 4 guys were walking by. They stopped. The guy finally comes to. He's walking. He falls down. He fell three times. He fell down. They helped him up. I went to go towards him. The big guy grabbed me by my arms. He goes, look, you had enough. I say, first of all, don't touch me or you look like this guy. So I finally went up to him and he put his head up. Both eyes were cut. He had a broken eye. I said, oh, my God. I said, I'm getting sued. I'm getting arrested. I'm going to jail. I said, why'd I do this? So I said, you said I know nothing about boxing. I said, well, you just found out I do. I got in my truck. I went to my sister's house like 50 miles away. I says, they're not coming for me. So nothing happened. I go back home. Nothing happened. But I got to admit, the guy never called the cops.
Yeah, I mean...
He took his beat, and that was it.
He took his beating, and he started it.
And the crazy thing about it, I remember doing the interview, Dewey Cooper, who was training with Mike Tyson right now, holding pads and everything and stuff for him. I did his radio show, his podcast, at Floyd Mayweather's gym in Las Vegas 10 years ago. And this guy had to be 38 years old. He wasn't even born when Rocky was alive. Rocky died in 1969 in a plane crash. This guy wasn't even around. He just started shit, and that was another thing, you know?
Yeah, I don't know why people will start problems with you. I mean, I've been around you. You don't have the type of energy where
I don't.
You would really want to do something like that. I mean, at least I wouldn't. You know,
I'm the nicest guy I know, man.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly. But you're not a pushover.
You know,
treat me good,
I'll treat
I'm
you
just
better.
saying.
That's my thing. You treat me good, I'll treat you better, and I treat people the way I want to be treated. But you disrespect me, we'll go to the next level.
Yeah.
But I didn't want a problem. But this guy got so crazy, man. But I'm glad he never called the cops. So
yeah, that's some stand up. That's some stand up type.
Yeah,
work.
that's a guy. He took a beat, and that was it.
Well, you've been around Tyson. You said that Tyson signing to Don King is what ruined him.
Don King was what?
You said that Mike Tyson's career was ruined after he signed with Don King.
Absolutely. When he left Kevin Rooney, his career went down the tubes.
Yeah, I remember when I interviewed Tyson, he talked about beating up Don King.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this story.
I think it was at the Beverly Hills Hotel, if I'm not mistaken.
It was
in Beverly Hills.
The story went, I guess Tyson was high, which, at that time he was getting high a lot. They were on Don King's...
Tyson likes his, weed.
His weed. Well, I mean, he was also doing other stuff at certain points, yeah. But I guess they were on Don King's private plane, and at the time, Tyson was having a lot of money problems. So he was like looking at Don King thinking, my money's paying for all this. And then they get in a car and like a Rolls Royce or something, and Tyson's getting even more and more pissed off. And at one point, he just starts beating him up in the car, and he's like chasing him around the car.
I thought it was outside the hotel. I don't know.
No, it was around the car. Yeah.
But you got to realize too. I mean, Mike made over $400 million in a ring. And
then the amount of money he made was insane. And he was like, richer than everyone else during that era.
Then he finds out that Don King's charged him like $10,000 for towels. Ridiculous stuff, charging him, taking his money.
Yeah.
Basically stealing his money. Yeah. And, I heard that about Don with a lot of fighters. I don't even know how he stood that long in a boxing business.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've heard it both ways.
Which story is the truth?
I think that he had different relationships with different people. Like, I interviewed Michael Nunn, who did some stuff with Don King, and he said, I have nothing bad to say about him. I always got my money, and that's that. When I interviewed Larry Holmes, he worked with Don King too. He didn't really have anything bad to say about him.
Right.
But different people have different relationships, and there was way more money on the Mike Tyson side than with everyone else, so he probably got a little greedier on that. But Tyson's going to fight Jake Paul in November.
Yes.
There is a 30-year age difference between the two. Tyson's 58, Jake Paul is 28. What do you think will happen in this ring?
Realistically, Mike should knock him out in 1 minute.
Okay.
Come down, one of those body shots, liver shot, come up with the same punch. I mean, he should knock him. But I'll tell you what, and I don't know if you read it, but I challenged Jake like 4 months ago.
Yeah, he's
and said, first of all, I want to congratulate you and your brother. Congratulations on your last fight and your brother, because getting in the ring takes a lot of balls.
Yeah.
I said, I heard you're looking for challenges. You want to challenge Canelo. You want to challenge this guy, Diaz, everybody else. I said, I have a challenge for you. Me. But I'm 71 years old. You don't have to worry about it. But let's make some money together.
He turned you down.
And found out that he actually texted on my social media thing and says, look, that wouldn't be a good idea. In fact, a couple of days, I'm fighting Mike Tyson. We're announcing. And 2 days later, they announced that he was fighting Mike. But I give him a lot of credit, because you know what? You're talking about a guy who's fighting, almost 4 years now?
Yeah.
He became so good from nothing. Mm-hmm. And I give him credit. He beat like 3 or 4 MMA guys already.
Yeah,
tough guys.
I mean, I think he transformed the sport. He showed that you could come from a non-traditional.
Yes.
You could be a YouTuber like me, and if you take it seriously and you build up the hype around it, you could make more than the professional fighters. And it brought a lot of money to the sport, brought a lot of fans. Everyone benefited from Jake Paul and Logan Paul boxing.
Look at Logan now. He's wrestling.
He's wrestling? And Logan fought Mayweather.
Yes.
Think about that.
Yes.
He lost.
Yeah.
But he still fought him.
I think Mayweather played with him the first.
A little bit.
4 or 5 rounds, and then it boom, 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 boom. It was over.
Yeah. And plus with the Tyson Jake Paul fight, they're using 14-ounce gloves. So it's not a real.
Now.
It's not a real boxing match.
I'm hearing different stories now.
And I think 8 rounds also.
Now it's saying exhibition, not a boxing match.
No. Originally it was supposed to be a real match.
Real match.
But now, once you change up the gloves, it's a wrap. It's not a real.
Change the gloves and no decision now. Come on.
Oh, there's no decision?
No decision. It's an exhibition. Nobody's winning.
Right, because they're only doing 2-minute rounds, I believe, 8 rounds. So at this point, it's just an exhibition.
I think it's going to be a sold-out arena.
Of course it is.
So I give the Paul brothers a lot of credit, man. They brought it to another level, and they're making money.
But you're predicting that Tyson's going to win.
Tyson should win. Should win. I don't care if he's 58. He's still, he's still Mike Tyson. He can still punch.
Yeah.
And you can see, even though they, cameras, angles, everything up, but he could still. He's Mike Tyson.
Oh, listen.
He knocked guys out with one shot.
Look, I interviewed Mike Tyson, and I pissed him off during the course of the interview, and I was legitimately scared during that interview.
Should be.
I mean, because I was in the ring because we were actually in the ring, because we were doing the interview at his boxing ring in L.A. So I'm in the ring with Mike Tyson.
Oh, okay.
And my security is way over there, right? He's not going to get to me in time. If Tyson took a swing at me, I would be hit by Mike Tyson.
At the gym out there?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, in L.A., in Santa Monica.
Tyson Ranch?
Santa Monica.
Oh, Santa Monica, different gym then.
Yeah, not it was just the one gym that he was training at. This was leading up to the Roy Jones fight.
If I was you, I'd be scared too.
Yeah,
Mike.
I'm not going to lie about being scared. It's Mike Tyson.
He's a great guy.
Oh, no, he was great. We were hanging out. We were smoking
loyal.
weed. But, I asked one wrong question, and
that's it, man.
And that's that.
It's like a switch. Boom.
Yeah, but I got him back. I got him calmed down again. We finished the interview, and we laughed about it afterwards. And it made for a good story. It made for great footage.
Mike is a historian on boxing.
Yes.
Like the 1800s, he could tell you what dates, what everything. He'll tell you what dates where this fight was, what that fight was. He's an historian on boxing.
And plus, I remember me and Michael Franzese, we had a conversation about this because he did Tyson's show, and they hung out afterwards. And he said the thing about Mike is that he loves the art of fighting. He said that he'll watch two bugs fight like the whole night. Like, what I'm saying? He just loves fighting itself. Boxing, MMA, kickboxing, whatever else. He's just in love with the overall sport. And, look, he became, at the time, we thought that this was the greatest boxer of all time, And I think if he didn't go to prison, I think that his career would have been very different. That
was another thing. He went to prison on bullshit stuff.
I heard this as well.
Took 3 years of his most, precious years away from him.
Yes.
And to go to prison because some girl said, that he raped her or whatever, was bullshit. It was all a setup, and they took advantage of Mike, and they fucking sent him. Now, if that happened in New York, she would have got the electric chair.
No, listen, I interviewed Tom Mesereau, who defended Mike Tyson, the lawyer.
Yeah.
And then also Alan Dershowitz, who worked on his appeal.
Yeah.
And, Dershowitz told me that there was witnesses that basically were going to testify that the girl was hanging out with him and she was kissing on him and everything like that, but the lawyer wouldn't allow these witnesses in. You know what I'm saying? And, I remember what Alan also told me was while he was working on his appeal, Mike Tyson was in jail during this time. And at one point, Tyson ran out of money.
Yeah.
And Alan said, don't worry about it. I don't drop clients in the middle of cases because they run out of money. So when you get out, you could pay me at a later point. He said Tyson got out, and the first thing he did was pay back Alan Dershowitz.
Wow.
That's the kind of guy that he is.
Yeah. Now, let me tell you something. That whole thing was bullshit.
Yeah.
A girl comes to my hotel room 3, 4 in the morning. We ain't playing mahjong. We're going to be fucking.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
No, I feel you.
And she had no business. If that's the way she was, I think she got mad because he wouldn't walk her back down to the car or whatever. She got mad.
You got to be. And
he came up with all this bullshit.
To all the men who are listening, this is something I've lived my life on this principle. You never let a woman leave your room mad. Do whatever you have to do at that moment. Humble yourself, apologize, spend some money if you have to. Hey. Make sure she leaves, happy to some certain degree. Because once she leaves that room angry, you saw it with Tupac, you saw it with Mike Tyson, you're going to see it, you're seeing it with Diddy, I'm sure. You're going to see it over and over again. You're going to run into problems. And if you really think about it, right, if Tyson didn't go to prison, he lost to Buster Douglas, which was the biggest upset ever in sports history. But he should have
never been in that ring that night because he was
partying with Bobby Brown the night before.
He was partying the night before everything. You do not do that. And actually, not for nothing. There was a long count with Douglas. He should have won.
I disagree with that. Me and Mike actually even argued about this in our interview. Well, because I interviewed Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson about this. And I watched that tape over and over again. You could say the count was long, but if you look, Buster Douglas was ready to go.
Yeah.
It's not like he barely made the count. What? He was already on a knee. He was waiting for the 10, and he jumped right back up.
I'm not trying to take anything from Buster because that night, Buster
did his thing that night.
You got to hand it to him. Beat anybody.
Yes.
He was on his money.
He was on it. His mom just died.
His mom just died.
Yeah, he was
on it.
Something
to fight for.
Yes.
I give him a lot of credit.
Yes.
But look what Holyfield did to him his next fight. Destroyed him.
Mutilated him. And he went into a depression and gained like 400 pounds and went into a diabetic coma. I don't know if you know this part of the story. He went into a diabetic coma because he was so depressed and whatever else. And he finally got out of it and lost weight and, got on with his life. But if you think about it, there would have been, if Tyson didn't go to prison, there would have been a rematch
Yeah.
Tyson would have definitely won that. Tyson would have taken it 100% seriously at that point. Because I remember I even asked Tyson, I said, what did you think about the Holyfield Buster Douglas fight where, you know, Buster Douglas basically went down in the first round, was like, give me my money, basically. And Tyson had a very interesting answer. He goes, look, he goes, how should I say this? He said, you know, certain of us, we have a bloodline and a pedigree where when you're on that stage, you give it all you got. You put everything into that, and you understand the importance of that. He just felt that at that moment, Buster didn't really care about the title. He didn't care about, you know, the belt. He was just there to collect a check and go on with his life. And he basically said that he was disappointed in what Buster did that night. And I could agree with that. But
they took, like it says, what Mike could have done those 3 years.
Yeah.
And that's why guys pay hookers. You don't pay them for the sex. You pay them to leave.
Right.
You know? Well, that's what.
Let me ask you.
She was nothing but a hooker either.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Because if you remember, after that whole thing, you know, he raped me, he did this. She was on TV the next day dancing and singing because she was in some kind of contest.
Yeah.
So how?
Beauty contest, yeah.
Yeah, beauty contest or something.
Yeah.
So how emotionally affected were you?
Listen, I think he got hemmed up.
They railroaded. Like I said, it happened in New York. I think it was what, Indiana, if I'm not mistaken?
Something like that, yeah.
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 That's why they wanted to throw the book at Mike. If it happened in New York, she would have got the electric chair.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yo.
If Tyson didn't go to prison,
yes,
he beats Buster Douglas, and then the next fight would be Holyfield. So Mike in his prime, Holyfield in his prime.
Mike would have beat him.
Yeah?
Yeah.
At that moment.
Mike would have beat him.
Because I remember I interviewed Holyfield as well. And what Holyfield told me was very interesting. He goes, the thing about Tyson is that he functions off of fear. Everyone he gets in the ring with are scared of him based on what he's done before. He goes, but I wasn't scared of him.
And that was so many years later.
You know, what's that?
That was so many years later when Mike was basically.
Well, but Holyfield had already boxed with Tyson early on in their career before they ever got in the ring together. They would spar together and stuff like that. They knew each other from before.
Yes.
And Holyfield's thing was like, I'm not scared of Mike Tyson. Right, and they had this little altercations before, and he's like, I wasn't scared of him. And you could, Holyfield was extremely humble. Like, Holyfield doesn't brag, and, you know, he talked about all the losses and everything.
Hey, Holyfield was a great fighter.
He's not only was he a great fighter, but he's a class act.
The 3 fights with him and Riddick Bowe
think about that.
And if you think about Bowe, beat him twice.
Yes.
You know?
Could have potentially beat him 3 times if it wasn't for that flying, you know, the parachute man and all that.
The fan
man fight, yeah. But yeah, I don't know what would have happened. I think it would have been a hell of a war in that ring. You know, Holyfield and Tyson both in their prime at that point.
Now, they fought later on, don't forget.
They fought later on. Tyson had gone to jail.
Yeah.
He lost his edge. But Holyfield legitimately beat him twice.
And when you think about it, Mike gained a lot of weight in jail.
Gained weight.
You know.
Yeah, so, he wasn't the same Mike.
No.
You know.
No.
Well, there you have it. Chuck Zito, man. We've been trying to do this for 2 years. We finally get around to doing it.
Got it.
And you got your documentary coming out once again. What's the name of it?
Coming. It's called Chuck Zito, An American Story.
There you have it.
And President Trump opens my documentary. It's amazing.
There you have it, man. That's as big as it gets right there. Well, Chuck, man, truly appreciate it. Wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Until next time.
Great.
Peace.
Great.